All right, if you have not heard yet, there's a new bonsai convention going down in the Midwest in 2024. It's going to be May 3rd through the 5th at the Gateway Convention Center in Collinsville, Illinois. It's put on by the Bonsai Society of Greater St. Louis, and I highly recommend you check this one out because they are doing everything right. I think that they are just doing a phenomenal job with the entire expo and convention. So to start off, they got 6 just incredible headliners. They have Bjorn Bjorholm of Asan, Tyler Sherrod of Dogwood Studios, Andrew Robson of Rakuyo N, Maria Hadstick, Young Cho, and Maro Stemberger. So super high level guest artists. I'm very, very excited that they were able to line up those people. I don't think they could have done a better job with that. That is absolutely phenomenal. They're doing $7,500 in cash prizes for the trees, the Kusamono, and the Suiseki Expo. They have $2,500 for the tree that wins Best in Show. We're currently calling for entries right now. So if you go to Bonsai Central, bonsai-central.com/entries, you can enter your tree. Deadline is February 1st, 2024. So once again, bonsai-central.com/entries. You can check that out. In addition to that, they have 14 plus workshops. They have 12 informal pop-up demos, 2 formal demos. They have dinner, which is going to be included with the price of admission on Friday, Saturday. They have 9 plus bonsai and kusamono lectures plus Q&A sessions. They have 3 professional roundtables, and they have over 15 awesome vendors all confirmed. I would definitely recommend you check out the site and look at the workshop material. I am pumped. I would literally buy every single juniper if I could for the workshop price. I think that they are not charging enough there. They have these awesome twisty junipers. I don't know where they got them or how they were able to obtain them, but I would buy all of them. Of course, they're saving them for the workshops. They have really great workshop material. A lot of times workshop material, I'm like, it's all right. But this workshop material is looking very high level. So for more information, I would go to bonsai-central.com. You can learn all about the convention, and I am very proud to say that they are a sponsor for this episode. Thank you so much. Definitely check them out.
Bonsai. Bonsai. Bonsai.
It's almost like once you start doing it, you almost have to. Like it's.
Bonsai.
He takes his hand and grabs his hat on top of his head while he's looking at it.
The Black Pondo Podcast.
You can ask me anything. I'll talk about whatever.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, so I guess tools, it's kind of an area that I feel like I said in the beginning, you don't have to go all Masakuni, which is like a great tool brand made in Japan. Probably the highest level, highest grade tools, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have some scissors that are like custom scissors that are like crazy thousands of dollars,
I've
right?
seen like those like programs and kind of like on those custom scissor shops. Yeah, there's like a few videos that went kind of viral about that. I mean, definitely, when you look at, say, like the level of precision and craftsmanship that go into some of those scissors, I mean, you can kind of reason charging what they charge. But I think the most important thing to remember, the end of the day, it's just a tool, and it's how you use the tool, right? That's the most, and that I feel that's just like common sense. But people can forget that and get excited and like, oh, I'm gonna have, all these fancy tools and all the latest techniques and just look really professional. I mean, but honestly, for most, I'd say like 90% of hobbyists, like you just need 3 tools. You just need so the only bonsai specific tool that can be useful is a concave cutter. Definitely would recommend one of those. The scissor, you can like definitely just use a cheap pair of scissors. I mean, you can find stuff that works, right? If you're on a budget, it's you can definitely go spend on the cheap on scissors. The tree is really not going to know that much. And
For
then
sure.
pliers, just any kind of working pliers, right? Doesn't have to be bonsai pliers. And then wire cutters.
Agree.
Like so many wire cutters, right? It doesn't have to be a bonsai tool. And just those 4 tools for the average hobbyist, it probably is going to cover like 90% of your work. So if you're just starting out, there's really no reason you need to buy some complete toolkit. You fill in the gaps over time based off what you need.
He's good. Yeah. So my dog just came in.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you. So let's break that down a little bit. Let's talk about all those tools that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So scissors. So personally, I'm curious what you think. So
yeah.
If I was starting out, I would actually recommend the ARS grape scissors. I think that's what, I don't know what they're called exactly.
Yeah. I know. They're like those little white scissors, the white handles and
yeah,
or plastic handles.
Yes. I think those are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I still have like 2 pairs that I've had for many, many years, and I think they're like $20 to $25 or so.
They're like pretty cheap and will last like forever until you break the blades or something. Yeah.
So I have 1 pair that is just the regular ones, and then I actually bent another pair back in the day for repotting just to get a better angle when you're going for the working on that root ball. But I like those. Those would be like my budget scissors. And then I'd say second, kind of mid-grade, I really like, actually, I wouldn't even consider this mid-grade. I'd say this is like mid to high. I really like Kanetian. I think that's my favorite brand. What about you?
Well, I mean, like the Kaishin, that's like kind of your best bang for your buck in terms of say for like a $50, $60 tool. I mean, yes, a little expensive, but at that price point and for the quality you get, you probably cannot get anything better. So like, and these tools, basically, as long as you take care of them, they're lifetime tools. So I like the idea of that when you start. I mean, some areas in the beginning, you can just use like whatever cheap tools you have. I mean, you can make it work for sure. And then as you get more into it, don't buy like sets, but just get individual tools, which are good quality, and you can build your tools over time. I mean, I look at like my tool bag now, and and then one day I was just like curious. I was like, how much money did I spend on tools over? And this is like over 10 years. And it's definitely like over $1,000 now. I like added everything up, all the different pliers and cutters and carving tools and everything. And so it can get quite costly, but that was like $1,000 spent over 10 years where I just added tools that were missing over time. So really the cost is not so like extreme, I would say. And even then you probably don't even like, because I have all these random carving tools and gin tools I like to use and some specific repotting tools. So there's some stuff where I've spent like more money that probably just a typical hobbyist. You don't even need to buy those tools. So it can be very reasonable over time, right? Just get that initial core, like those 3-4 tools, whatever, just starting out. And then as you get more trees that necessitate more work, then just add in tool by tool. So
yeah. I guess one thing that I would kind of recommend against would be like cheaper made, often like maybe they're made in China type tools. I haven't had great experience with those. I think I started out with those and I did not like them. I would just go like ARS or Kanetian. I think that's a good use of your money. You don't have to go Masakuni, but I wouldn't go with the like cheap Chinese ones. Anyways, I guess one thing that I think a good investment would be some type of whetstone or way to sharpen your tools, right? Because I feel like a lot of having good tools, what's probably more important for the tree is just that you maintain a really nice edge. You have really sharp scissors.
Yeah.
It doesn't so much matter, what brand your scissors are or anything like that. More so just that you take really good care of them, oil them. Do you like whetstones? Is that your method of sharpening, generally speaking?
Yeah, I mean, before I think I might have mentioned this on the last podcast, but before I was into bonsai, I was like working this part-time job for like this cutlery knife dealer in high school. That exposed me kind of to like these kind of like knife collector hobbyist groups, and then also there's like a like sharpening community with different. I mean, it gets like it's another whole just kind of hobbyist group where they're just very interested to all the different abrasive mediums, how to like get a perfect edge. So I kind of got sucked into that a little bit before bonsai. So before I was in bonsai, I was like obsessed with having like perfect edges on knives. So I had like a whetstone collection and everything, and learned how to freehand sharpen very well.
Sweet.
So it's kind of like perfect that after I got on bonsai, you just maintain all my tools. I would say that as long as you're not abusing your tools, because stuff like chips and some kind of like catastrophic failure in the edge, I mean, it's very hard to repair. But if you're using your tools normally, right, not overstraining them, then right, they can be lifetime tools. You can just keep on maintaining the edge. One kind of recommendation that I see people sharpen like this, which I don't recommend, is a lot of times people get some kind of abrasive, like it could be a diamond file or a little carbide bit, and they just kind of like rub the edge. Let me see this. Well, if we use a camera later, I'll kind of see if I can show an example. But another thing to consider is edge geometry. So if we have, let's kind of draw this very like.
Dang, you are geeking out here. I like it.
Yeah, like whatever. This is just like some kind of concave edge. And if you always sharpen the tip, so it's gonna like draw this. Let's say we have some kind of sharpening plane and we're constantly abrading and reducing this over time. I mean, over the long term, your tip will get more obtuse, right? The angle will widen. If you're just removing like mass on the tip over and over. So when you sharpen tools properly, like really you're removing material from the whole cutting phase. So in the case of like concave cutters where we have this kind of like smooth exterior on the outside, and these is usually a flat interface. When I'm using the water stones, really I'm abrading the whole surface evenly, right? Not just the very tip. And that way I can maintain the exact same cutting angle for every successive like time I sharpen it. That's just like a little like kind of subtle thing. But if you're just like aggressively grinding the tips of your tools to, because in the short term, it will work to sharpen it. But if you did that for every single sharpening, eventually you'll lose the cutting performance. And then your tool is just kind of obsolete.
Gotcha. I feel like I'm good at sharpening scissors and grafting knives, but I'm not good at anything concaves, branch cutters or concave cutters.
Yeah.
Maybe you can give me a lesson in that someday.
If I had a concave cutter in my room right now, I can give you like a live. But it's in the garage. Yeah. It's another time. Yeah.
So when I see you, when we meet up sometime, we got to go rock climbing together, and then you got to give me like a sharpening lesson. Okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about wire cutters? What kind do you like? Would you go with on a budget?
So let's see. So, I mean, when I first bought wire cutters, I just got some generic electrician wire cutters from Home Depot, just like $10 or whatever. And if you're just cutting like aluminum wire and smaller gauge copper wire, I mean, realistically, it's going to do the job. And I mean, later, if you are using thicker gauge wires, a proper wire cutter does make a huge difference. But if you're not using it, you can get away with a cheap wire cutter. So it really just depends like what you are using in the start. And then say maybe down the line, you are using thicker wire, then you can kind of justify, okay, I'll buy a nicer bonsai wire cutter, or you can get like one of those the double jointed those like bolt cutters, like they have the Knipex
Knipex?
ones, not just
Yeah.
Knipex. Actually, it was Seth Nelson. He's messaged. This was like a few months ago, but he sent
I'm
me
pretty
a
sure he
link to
messaged
like
me
this
that too.
budget. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and
it
there's
was like on
yeah,
sale on Amazon, maybe?
yeah, and so they have the similar designs, which just function on the same mechanics and principle, and so it's perfectly reasonable. You find a great wire cutter for 30 to $50, probably get something that works well. So I think that's
Nice.
easy to find, not that hard.
Cool. Shout out to Seth. And
Yeah,
I like the Knipex. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Is it Knipex or
I just said
Knipex? I don't know.
Nipix. Yeah,
Knipex?
I don't know.
Knipex? Okay.
I always said the K silently, but honestly, I have no idea.
Okay. Well, I think they're like 40-ish dollars, something
Yeah,
around
it's
there.
not.
And
Honestly,
those are
it's not
pretty
that
nice.
bad. And kind
Yeah.
of shout out to them for. And I mean, must have been my fault, but I never knew why. But both of my Nipix cutters like seized last year, and there was like
Yeah.
no rust on them or anything. And I was trying to look like, did some kind of wire or dirt get into the access, and I just couldn't figure it out. But it's just, anyways, both. Like if I can't use the wire cutter one-handed, it's just like it defeats the purpose. It's just kind of useless for me. So it was a real bummer. It had like the big and small version, and so I contacted the Nipix, and they said, yeah, just send the tools over, or inspect them, and they just sent me like 2 brand new wire cutters. So
Sweet.
definitely they owned up to their customer service, and so
Nice.
yeah, the tools work well, and yeah, good. Seems to be a good company. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I like them. Very cool. I have a big Masakuni wire cutter,
Uh-huh.
but it's just not needed.
Yeah.
It looks cool. It's fun.
Yeah,
Fun
yeah.
to play with, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about pliers? Same thing? Like
Pliers
Harbor
is
Freight?
probably where, yeah, you totally don't need bonsai pliers. Pliers is, you can use any. I mean, the tips need to like not be so. Ideally, you get flatter tips, so the contact surface of the plier is not overly skinny. Because if you get some of the electrician pliers, they have a kind of a tapered contact points on the end, so it's just the very very tip of the pliers barely touch, which may be kind of hard. You're trying to like grip wire and bark. But I think if you just go to any like Home Depot or a utility store, like you will easily find a plier that does the job. That
Yeah.
definitely does not have to be a bonsai plier. Although it is nice to have some of the bonsai pliers, very well made. But starting out, it's not really necessary.
For sure. Completely agree. Very nice. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then I'd say mid-range, pretty much my recommendation is just Kanetian, which I don't think I say that correctly. How do you say that?
Yeah, I think it's Kanetian. It's like the ne, not ni, I think. Yeah.
Nice. All right. I'm still going to just say it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. For concave cutters, what would you go with? I mean, that's
I have I think I have just the Kanetian cutters. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I use.
Nice.
But I mean, it was funny. I bought those in 2017, and they were like brand new cutters. And I was volunteering at the Huntington Gardens. I'm in LA, so one of the GSBF collections. And I remember some older volunteer. He's like, "Oh, I forgot my concave cutters. Can I borrow yours?" He's like, brand new cutters. I didn't even use them yet. And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." I just gave it him. He like instantly dropped it. The moment I put it in his hand, he just dropped it, and it cracked off the tip. And so I had to like resharpen it. And I still use those same concave cutters, but every time I look at it, I was like God damn it. Yeah, so I'm a little cautious letting people borrow my tools now.
Dang, that's brutal, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I do feel like concave cutters are a bonsai specific tool that you kind of should have, just so that you can make a concave branch cut, which
Yeah, just
is
nice clean cut.
yeah, it'd be challenging
Mhm.
without it. I mean, you could use a saw and a chisel, but you don't want to do that.
It's
you
like way
you want
easier
it
with
concave.
the cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. I was trying to think of other important. I guess for repotting, there's some tools that are good.
Uh-huh.
A sickle or a comma. I think
Yeah,
I see those
yeah.
at like Asian or 99-cent stores very
Yeah, you can
commonly for
go
very
to
inexpensive.
like Daiso. Sometimes they sell that. Daiso is just like a uh Japanese convenience kind of 99-cent store style like chain home store. But I mean, at least in California, there's a bunch of I don't know outside of California if there are other Daisos in the U.S. But they should be like an international chain. But yeah, some kind of convenience store you can find those sickles sometimes.
Nice. Very cool. Chopsticks. I feel like you can get those for free at restaurants.
Yeah.
And then if you
Yeah,
need to make
yeah.
larger ones, you can make them out of bamboo, which is great.
Mhm.
I've made
Yeah.
them out of other types of wood as well, like redwood or cedar or whatever. I think that is okay as well. Just different
Mhm.
sizes is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Saws. I really love the silky saws, but they're
Yeah.
not super expensive, but they're not super cheap. I think they're like
Yeah,
$40-ish.
and they're definitely getting like more expensive off Amazon. I mean, great saws because the teeth patterns like cuts very efficiently.
Yeah.
Works really well. There is definitely if you're making big cuts on trees, the quality of the saws actually do matter. I think that's a case where you will see the difference between a cheaper and nicer saw. So yeah, I mean, if you need a saw, I think if you can get like one of the silky saws, might be 40, $50, but lasts you a very long time, can be a good investment.
Nice. Agree. All right. So carving chisels, I mean,
Mhm.
you can spend tons of money going with carving chisels. I think that there
Yeah.
are a lot of things that you can buy at, say, for example, like a Harbor Freight.
You can like
And-
repurpose so many wood tools, and what I did, because I have a set of just like woodworking chisels I use, I just went on eBay and I just typed in antique Japanese chisels or something, which is just going to be some kind of basic carbon steel. But at least for the purposes of just working on bonsai is more than good enough. So I just got, I think I set of 3 chisels for like $30. And of course they're all like beat up because they're super old. And then I reset all the edges, and they're like fantastic tools. So you can find carving tools. I think it's not hard. There's so many sources. You can find good quality stuff.
one tool that is very not needed, but like just the
Mhm.
coolest thing ever is I saw Peter had one. You got it for him.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the electronic
The
chisel,
power chisels. Yeah.
power
So
chisels from Japan. Those things are
yeah,
so cool.
at Taikon 10 and Kokufu, there's always one of the vendors, and they sell like woodworking tools, and they always have like some random stumps, and they just let people like carve on it. And so yeah, they're like power chisels. And yeah, I remembered like Peter mentioned once he's like kind of wanted to get one of those. I feel like I don't have enough of the kind of tree that I need to use it on, so I didn't buy one for myself. But I was in Japan for last Taikon 10 in November, and then of course with the exchange rates, right? Which was, it's still very good right now. It's like about $1 to 150 yen. I mean, it's kind of like you're getting a major discount.
Totally,
So
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I asked Peter, I was like, well, I think it was like 3,800 yen. That was like the list price. But like with the exchange rates is like 200 some dollar, under $250. And yeah, that thing's like a beast, just like cuts through.
Oh.
It's fun to use. Yeah.
So
if
fun
you're
to
like
use, yeah.
healing big wounds on deciduous, which of course Peter has a lot of big deciduous trees.
Yeah.
Very functional tool. Yeah. It saves you all the
Yeah.
elbow grease and messing up your hands, just like muscling all the wood out.
For sure. Those things are super rad. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And then I was thinking, what about for grafting knives? What do you think there?
I mean, there's a lot of different brands of grafting knives, and the pricing can vary quite a lot, just based off like the steel they use and the quality. I've had like Kanishin grafting knives. I also have a very nice grafting knife that I bought from Fred Miyahara. And because I host my San Diego study groups at his place, and he's been like very gracious and nice to work with. But I remember I was looking for more left-handed grafting knives, and he was like, "Oh, I have a left-handed grafting knife from Masiishi."
Wow.
So I guess because Masiishi was a very prolific grafter back in his day, and when he was still active, he would commission like a knife or sword maker in Japan just to like make a bunch of grafts. So he used to sell them. So sometimes you might see them scattered around. Some hobbyists may have them. They're like a wooden handled. There's like a black resin kind of a collar, and the blade is slightly curved, so it's different than the standard grafting knife shape. But that was kind of I when I bought that from him, I was like, oh man, should I even like use this? It's kind of like bonsai history. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I still used it anyways. I was like, oh, this is like a perfectly good grafting knife, and it's like my standard grafting knife now, and so I have no issues using it. But that's kind of definitely expensive. When you get a grafting knife, there's always two things I check, and regardless of the steel quality. One thing that I've noticed, even in the mid production, say like the Kanishin grafting knives, the blade edge for a grafting knife is so skinny, right? Especially on the tip. So in their like production process, and these are all kind of like semi custom made. But if during like their kind of heat treatment and quenching process, and normally I guess I would assume they would check for this and correct for it. But there is like potential for these very thin edges to be warped. Like the cutting plane is not talking about like the edge being curved. Like you can have a curved edge, but it's like you rotate it, right? And it's like a flat plane. But like the actual cutting edge is like not straight, right? It's curved. That's like a big no for grafting knives, because my first Kanishin grafting knife I bought, it was warped. So you can basically in the production process, right? It can very easily happen to these very thin blades. But I would recommend that if you buy it in person, just like check to see if the edge is straight. That's like a little just pet peeve, but your cuts will be cleaner.
Good tip.
But yeah,
Good
Kanishin sells them. The other kind of mid-price range tool brand, Kikuwa, sells them. There's like a bunch of cheaper ones too. But honestly, as long as the edge is clean and you did a good job sharpening it, I mean, the technique is going to be more important than the knife, right? As long as you have a nice, clean, crisp edge, which you can still achieve on a cheap knife, you can graft trees with cheaper grafting knives. It's totally fine.
Cool. I don't know if you think this is going to be like sacrilege or anything like that, but lately for crafting, I've been using a specific box cutter instead of a grafting knife. You're like, I'm done with this podcast. But it's the OLFA 25 millimeter Olfa. I think it's a Japanese.
I'll have to look it up. Yeah. Is it like the thin utility knives, like the blade edge?
It's pretty thick. I mean, it's a pretty thick knife, but it's razor sharp, and more so use it out of not having to sharpen my grafting knife all the time.
You can put a new one on all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, that's also a great point.
Yeah. They're only $12.50 to buy on Amazon, so I like them. And you can just keep replacing the blade really quickly. I think they work pretty well to me. A really well sharpened grafting knife is a better option. However, it's just about always having to sharpen again and again. So yeah. Cool, man. Well, I think for me that pretty well hits it with tools. I mean, there's a bunch of, you could go on for days and days and days about tools. There's so many different tools. I mean, that you could buy, whether it's a branch bender or I don't know, 1,000 other options. But
Yeah.
I think we kind of hit like the main tools that I think that a beginner would need. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we cover soil and fertilizer, and then maybe
Uh-huh.
just like a little bit about pots, and then I think that's about all I have time for, if that's cool with you.
Sure. Yeah. 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 Soil and fertilizer. I mean, this can be a little subjective, and I don't agree that there's only one soil mix that is like good for everything. Really, the best approach to do that is you match your soil mix to your watering habits, right? Or conversely, you can adjust your watering practices to accommodate the soil mix. So, I mean, there is still some advantages. Say we use like quote unquote more volcanic and porous bonsai mixes, which you just have much greater air retention in the pot and very high surface area. So your trees have good balance of water and oxygen so they can respire. So good when you're in those later stages and you're trying to grow your tree in as small of a pot as possible. The soil kind of matters a lot. But if you're on those initial growing stages or the pot is much deeper, so your water table is basically much lower, like, is your tree going to be okay growing in some organic cactus mix blend? It probably will be. But as you as you downsize and you transition to bonsai containers to develop the tree, I would say it's important to invest in proper soil. So, I mean, starting out, akadama prices are only getting more and more expensive. So, could be pretty cost prohibitive for like somebody starting out. But kind of generic mixes you can use. I mean, you can get perlite very cheap. In California, pumice is very cheap. If you do use organics like bark and whatever, you either can get like composted bark or it's kind of like fresh raw bark that's just been chopped up. So if you buy like orchid bark, right, it's these little pellets of it's basically raw bark. And the reason why a lot of times use these organic components, people are like, oh no, you can't use it for bonsai, this is sacrilegious, is that eventually with enough time, these raw organic components, they will break down and degrade. And so there's some compaction of your soil. And then as the organics decompose, right, they'll consume nitrogen and some other nutrients in that decomposition process. But if your scope, you say your window of repotting is in like 2 years or less, right? You're repotting every year or within every few years. I mean, to be honest, those organic mixes with some organic additive, probably going to be totally fine. But in the longer scope, yeah, it definitely is some trade-offs. So I think for soil, it's not that you have to use only these only these ingredients, and that's like akadama, pumice, lava. I mean, really, there is a lot of options. You just need to understand the trade-offs for each one. And then if that's like relevant to what you're growing, if it's going to have any negative implications. So yeah, say if you weren't using akadama, yeah, you can use, right? Pumice lava, I think you can find very cheap. Perlite's very good. Bark is kind of okay. I think on the short term, it definitely can be used. Long term, maybe some potential issues. But best is just to, and if you're really not sure, just try mixes out for yourself. And you can just kind of see for yourself for your own goals in bonsai, is the quality of growth appropriate for what I want on the tree, the kind of development I'm doing. Yeah, so hard to give like a single answer for everything for this.
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. How do I ask this?
Yeah.
I guess personally, it is such a trip that we import dirt from Japan and it costs, $40 to $50 a bag, right?
Yeah.
It's
Getting
ridiculous.
even more now. Like the retail cost is per bag. Yeah, it's getting up
It is.
there for sure. Yeah.
It's very expensive. However, I do think that if you want to grow trees in a small container,
Yeah.
it's the best option. I mean, I don't know. I would kind of rather someone use a little, like a smaller ratio of akadama if you're going to
Yeah.
go with a smaller pot, and use maybe more pumice and lava
Mm-hmm.
than no akadama at all. I feel like it's
Yeah.
just has very many benefits. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
it's self-scaling, that it breaks down slowly over time, that
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
core of a root ball, it still works and it still
Yeah.
works well. Whereas like bark, I think is a
There's
bad
just like
option
a time
long
limit.
term.
Yeah. Long term is hard to use. Yeah.
Yes, and I think so. I would prefer that people do use akadama, and maybe if you're really on a budget, you would use less of it and use more pumice. Personally,
Yeah.
I absolutely love pumice. I would buy it by the yard. You know, a yard
Yeah.
of pumice in California from
Yeah.
a landscaping place is like
Yeah.
maybe $60 to $110 or so.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's insane how long
Yeah.
that should last you if
Yeah.
you're using
Yeah.
it
It's
in
like more
bonsai pots.
soil than you're gonna need. Yeah. I mean,
For
yeah,
sure.
definitely agree. Yeah, the smaller the container size gets, the more important the soil is, because you're looking for the greatest efficiency of the root system to keep the tree healthy, of course, but you have that aesthetic freedom to use a small pot if you so choose it. But say like if you're not able to use the ideal soil mix, or you don't have akadama and maybe you're using a drier mix, then maybe you just might get into a limiting factor that maybe you shouldn't put your tree in this like super tiny pot, because the moisture environment's not going to be stable, or it's going to dry out too fast. So really you're trying to match like the soil recipe, how much water it holds, the size of the pot, how refined the tree is. And when you're at that stage where those things matter, akadama has a huge advantage. So I agree there. But if you're just growing stuff, not as crucial, or if the
Not
container
needed.
size is like very big, not as important. Kind of like was like a story from another professional, but I think I mentioned the penguin curator at the Huntington Gardens. But people in SoCal just call him a Mr. Chef, and he mainly grows Chinese elms, olives, pomegranates, are very hardy species. But he has like some pines and junipers, and I think like a lot of his trees are just in like Costco organic mix. Yeah, and he has some like spectacular trees, and so that's just like proof of the point that if you compensate your water accordingly and you're matching it with the right species and the pot size, there is more than one variable to adjust than just the soil composition. So I would say try things out and just think about the trade-offs of what you're doing, and let that like inform your soil mix. But definitely akadama has its advantages. Yeah.
That's funny. I like Costco for a lot of things, but I don't know about for their soil mix.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. And good points there for sure. Yeah, I still, for me, if I have a high quality tree, I wouldn't trust it in a non-akadama mix personally. And then in terms of growing things out from cutting seed, air layer, I was using like probably like 15% akadama, the rest just sifted pumice. That was kind of my mix for growing things out. Recently, I switched over to a large size perlite and then cocoa core, and that was on the recommendation of Eric Schrader, and it's been pretty good so far. I've been very happy with it. Things seem to grow really well, although it's only been 1 year, so I haven't had all that much data to look at yet, but it's been a good mix.
Yeah.
What do you use to grow things out?
I mean, now what I'm doing is pretty similar to Peter, where just for simplicity purposes, everything is pumice and akadama, because then I can just adjust the ratios to make something wet or less wet. And it's just purely, it's very like efficient. So
For
the
sure.
main motivation was like, well, it works and I don't have to spend more time mixing different soil ingredients. So not to argue one way is better or another, but it is sufficient for the trees and it's very easy to do, just two components. So I've just been
Nice.
running with that. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Two very good soil components, akadama and
Yeah.
pumice. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, sifted pumice. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you think about fertilizer? What what's your thoughts there?
So for me, most of the commercial organic fertilizers, if you look at the ingredients in the bag, they're using all of the same kind of animal and plant byproducts. It's like across the board. They're very similar. So I really don't pay too much attention to what they put in the fertilizer when you're just buying generic organic fertilizers. I just look at the NPK, and so I just have some kind of generic low nitrogen fertilizer or something with a bit more nitrogen. And for me, they're all kind of the same. Like on the lower end, you go to Home Depot, whatever, they have like the EB Stone brands. One brand that's like a little bit more expensive, but that you can buy in larger sizes. Fox Farm, they also sell all these different fertilizers, but ingredients more or less the same as the one I mentioned. There's like another brand that Home Depot sells, but I can't remember it right now. But they sell like rhododendron fertilizers and basically all these different variations. And a lot of times these fertilizers say, oh, this is for citrus, this is for palm trees. And the only difference is just the NPK ratios. The
Totally.
ingredients
Yeah.
is all the same. So don't get like too hung up on that. Just look at the NPK, see if it has the micronutrients and whatever. And I mean, I just use like, right now I'm using like, it's not even EB Stone. I just got some like generic whatever from my local nursery. It's just some organic mix, some kind of low NPK ratio. So I just wanted something mild that all my trees got. I threw it in tea bags and the trees are totally healthy. So fertilizer, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you don't have to spend a lot of money on fertilizer. So I just use some generic organics. I also use some Osmocote, which is a little more expensive, but that works pretty well. But I will use liquids where basically in my bucket that I'm siphoning my water through, I'll throw in like fish emulsion, seaweed emulsion, sometimes some chemical fertilizer. That's just to supplement. But is it necessary to buy, say, like BioGold or all these kind of top end fertilizers? I mean, I think there is some advantage, but is that going to make or break the health of your bonsai? If the fertilizer is the deciding factor, you're probably already doing something else wrong, right? Just ensuring your tree, of course, gets its baseline nutrition. Definitely more than one way to do it. So I think you don't have to use like, say, order fertilizer from Japan and get whatever those little cakes and tins. And I mean, it can get pretty expensive. Say if you go the tea bag route, though, that's just like labor intensive. You have to put things in tea bags. And then sometimes people have animals, they like take them away and eat them. That's a pretty common issue. And then there might be some merit to getting some of these cakes, some of which advertise as scentless or no animal products. So in which case, yeah, it makes sense buying a kind of more high-end fertilizer on that side. But yeah, my fertilizing regime is pretty simple. I just have two layers. One is I use these just low NPK organic tea bags, and all of the trees get it. It's just to ensure my trees all get the same kind of baseline nutrition. And then the trees I'm just trying to grow more aggressively, I just throw Osmocote on top of it. So it just gets a bit more the nitrogen and accessible soluble nutrients. And then the liquid fertilizer, all the trees get, it's just supplement on top of that. But for me, that has worked pretty well, a pretty controlled system.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I think that's all great points. I really like the point about if your trees aren't looking so good, it's definitely not the fertilizer's issue.
Yeah. I mean, it can, of course,
Yeah.
it'll influence and help, but it's usually more than just the fertilizer.
For sure.
Assuming
for
you're
sure.
already fertilizing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I will say so, and I guess so. I do use BioGold. However, I only do it mostly because it's convenient. It's already made.
Yeah.
I don't have to put it in a tea bag. I know it works. I've been using it for a while. Before that, when I was more on a budget, I would make my own cakes. I think that I would mix up various meals and different organic fertilizers, and I'd usually grab a couple different ones, maybe whatever's on sale, and I would mix it with fish emulsion, and I would create these cakes. I would put an indent at the top of the cake so that water would sit on there, and it would keep it moist for longer.
Yeah.
But now I just go BioGold and I use liquid chemical fertilizers and fish emulsion, and that's kind of what I use. I use a little bit of Osmocote, teeny little bit on my trees that are in bonsai pots, a lot more on things that I'm growing out. But like you, I feel like maybe fertilizers, it's not extremely important, like which brand it is or that you have to spend a lot of money. Now, I will say, I do think that one thing that Ryan Neal is doing, which is very interesting to me, is he's like taking samples of leaf tissue and then sending them off to a lab to be diagnosed. And then they actually analyze, where the plant is lacking, and then he adjusts accordingly from there. I think that is really probably like a great way to go. And I probably would like to experiment with that.
I think that's like legit, and they probably already do testing of that similar nature or larger scale on just any kind of agriculture, right? Just to see what kind of deficiencies or is wrong with the plant. I think it's super cool, but for the average enthusiast, are you gonna send leaf samples and get them lab tested, then order like specific nutrients and soil additives to compensate? I mean, can be very time intensive and costly.
For sure.
So for me, I try to just keep it simple. Is the tree getting the basics, right? Your water, fertilizer, sun. If you can maintain a good state of vigor and just ensure the baseline nutrients are provided, I mean, the tree is not so fragile. You can grow it robustly and it'll be very healthy. But
totally. I like that you say robust a lot.
Yeah.
I noticed that on the the last podcast.
Yeah.
That's like a Julian original. Robust.
I mean, I feel for me, if you can just grow your tree healthy, it's just so much more resistant and hardy to like whatever pest diseases and whatnot. So I think having an approach where you're not trying to correct everything after the fact that an issue happened, just have some kind of methodology that gives you a quote unquote robust tree that just has more resistance and tolerance. So having more kind of like the preventive measure than basically treating the symptoms like, oh, my tree's sick, I need to do this and that. If you can minimize that, right, it'll save you time and your tree will just overall be stronger.
Solid. Cool, man. Well, I probably got another like 7 minutes and then I got to put my kids to sleep. But I was curious, so there's so many different topics we could have hit on.
Yeah, this is
I was
like
thinking
a lot.
it was.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for going through this whole method with me. I guess the last one that I had on my list was bonsai containers. Any like last tips or suggestions for bonsai containers on a budget? What are your thoughts with that?
I mean, in the early stages, right, you're just developing your tree. Like you don't need a nice bonsai pot to put your tree in that you're just growing and developing. Once you start getting to your later stages of work, I mean, definitely it's nice to have and you're going to show your tree. But in the start, just, you don't even need to sweat that. I will say that in terms of the best value for your money is kind of like you can't beat like the mid production grade Japanese and Chinese pots. The way I look at ceramics from like Japan, which is also then inspired off a lot of Chinese ceramics. I mean, all the shapes are some kind of like geometric variation. I mean, there's a lot of lines, right? And they are in some kind of balance or symmetry with each other. And it's very easy to take that for granted where you see some kind of clean, simple shape and you're like, oh, yeah, it's just a simple pot shape. It's easy to make. And then, but for any of these very, I would say, geometric shapes, and there's a lot of lines on the pot, regardless of the rectangle or whatever. If there's one line that's off just a little bit, because everything is in balance with each other, the impact of the pot is like night and day in terms of like how clean and nice it looks. And just so for like Japan and China, because of course they made ceramics for such a long time, the level of craft and attention to detail is there that on those like, mid production level pots that, yeah, maybe it's like $100 to $300. I mean, the lines is just so pristine, and it gives your pot a lot of presence and impact. I think ceramics in the U.S. is not at that quality standard yet, and even like, and so you see very often that instead of emulating those shapes, we try to make very organic, freeform shapes that's visually very contrasting or interesting, or the form is more soft, and you can in a sense get away with that lack of precision. But I would say if you want a pot that's outstanding quality and the best value for your money, yeah, really hard to, I think you can't beat the quality cost ratio of like the Japanese and Chinese pots. Even you commission like custom pots from like US ceramicists, I mean, some of which are doing some pretty good work, but I think for the same quality pot, it's going to be much more expensive, and it probably won't be as good quality as well. So something, yeah, I think a way when we look at ceramics, and as long as you take care of the pot, it doesn't chip and crack, I mean, they can always accrue age and appreciate in value, especially all those old pots. They never depreciate, right? There's just a finite number of pots. Many of those kilns are defunct. So actually, pots is an area that I recommend once you're getting to those later stages of the tree, invest in nicer pots because they will not depreciate, and the appropriately matched pot with the tree gives the tree so much more presence and makes it stand out a lot more.
Very well said. Very well said, man. And I guess all great points. Only tip I would say is if you're newer in bonsai, you don't have to just start collecting lots and lots of pots.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people fall into that. And while that's great and that's fun, maybe that's a good thing if you have more of a budget. But I agree with you. Mid grade Japanese and Chinese, very nice. Few American potters that I really like, but and I think that they're improving and getting better.
Oh yeah,
a few of them. But all great points, man. Hey, thank you so much for your time, Julian. I really, really appreciate it. Always super fun talking to you, and I hope we can meet up in person sometime soon.
Yeah.
And do some climbing,
I'd love
do
to
some
see
bonsai.
like your place and your trees. Yeah,
come by sometime. I'm actually building a koi pond in August in my bonsai garden.
Yeah,
which I'm super pumped about. So maybe after that gets some fish in the pond, you should come by sometime.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay, cool.